Well, hi everybody. I know that some people are still in the morning, others are in the afternoon, others in the evening. And well, I would like to thank you for joining this conference so that we can answer some questions about what's happening in the Amazon area during this period of pandemic, and of course about the problems that everybody is concerned in that area of Brazil. So we are going to start to answering the questions that you sent for us.
We start our interview today with Vice President Antônio Hamilton Mourão with journalist Nathan Rock from the National Public Radio in Los Angeles, California. And the question is, given the reports of increased deforestation and logging activity, what is the Brazilian government doing to fight it? I understand President Jair Bolsonaro authorized the deployment of military resources, but is Vice President Hamilton Mourão confident that this will work?
Well, Nathan, thank you for your question. Well, I will not deny that deforestation has in fact increased from last year's figures, although in a historical perspective, we are still below the average illegal logging activity in the Amazon region. The first thing we have to make clear is that there is legal and, of course, there is illegal logging in the Amazon forest. Our legislation allows landowners to clear up to 20% of their property for production purpose. Anything beyond that would break the law, as well moving over federal preservation areas or indigenous territories. In last February, President Bolsonaro reinstated the National Amazon Council, which had existed in the past but never really acted upon the region's problems. This time, as Vice President, I was given the task to organize the new council, aiming at providing preservation, protection, and sustainable development policies for the region. Through a new design of interministerial commissions, we have been creating a strategic governed approach to address those three key issues that I have mentioned. One of the first challenges the Council identified was the need to support the agencies in charge of environment protection. Therefore, one of the first immediate action we decided was to deploy military personnel to guarantee the manpower and the logistics to enhance inspection operations against those criminals. As a former general, I know that it's not ideal to deploy soldiers for that kind of job, but Brazil lacks a specific Ranger Corps, and we need to act fast to prevent the escalation of crimes against our environment. And to answer your question, finally, yes, I'm confident that these actions of Operation Verde Brasil 2 will result in a decrease in deforestation in the Amazon.
Question number 2, Terence McCoy from the Washington Post. Does the government have evidence that escalating deforestation in the Amazon is linked to the pandemic? Are criminal groups taking advantage of the chaotic moment? How will the government address the issue if that is the case? If the coronavirus reaches indigenous communities, what is the government plan to save an extraordinarily vulnerable population? Fly them out? Most illegal deforestation is linked to beef industry, conducted by criminals with a lot of resources and money. Why is this still continuing? Why hasn't the government brought these people to justice and stopped the problem?
Terence, thank you for a question. Well, it's more than one question, and I'll try to answer all, which cover very different topics. But I will start by explaining the complexity of the Amazon region and its local population, including indigenous communities. I would like to remember you that the Amazon area, it's about 60% of Brazil territory. It's some 5 million square kilometers of jungle and rivers. It's not an easy task to preserve and protect. In a historical context, this huge territory only started to be systematically occupied in the last 30 years of the last century. Until the 70s, we had only the big cities of Belém in the state of Pará, Manaus in the state of Amazonas, and well, this huge area was not fully integrated to the Brazilian territory. We have a different realities for the indigenous communities. For instance, we have Indians that live in urban areas, and we have those who live in the transition areas, and of course those natives that are in isolated regions in the far west of the Amazon, mainly in the border with Peru, Colombia, and Venezuela. The COVID-19 amongst the indigenous populations. Well, we have about 750,000 Indians in the Amazon area. And the statistics for the moment are on our side. According to our Indigenous Health Agency, we have had 301 confirmed cases of coronavirus, of which 171 have been cured, and unhappily 19 are diseased. So we have this Indigenous Health Agency who has the responsibility, okay, to take care of the indigenous people, and they have a very good budget comparing with other problems that we have in our national budget. For you to know, this budget, it's about some $350 million per year, and only to take the basic care of the indigenous population. Any other more complex case, this population has to be shipped to the major cities to be treated in hospitals. And talking about hospitals, the regional reference hospital named Newton Lins, that is located in Manaus, the capital of the state of Amazonas, has created a wing for the exclusive care of native communities, proving that we are working hand in hand with the government of the state of the Amazonas. Regarding the relation between the beef industry and deforestation, there is great misunderstanding in that sense. Cattle industry in the Amazon is ridiculously small and not competitive, especially compared to the pastures of the center-west area of Brazil, where it has a major role in the local economy. The Amazon is the perfect space for the development of a new economic model for the 21st century. It has to include biodiversity, innovation, and a great deal of technology to reach its full potential and at the same time preserve its environmental richness. In order to do that, we need the financial support and expertise of the international community. Our country cannot do this alone. We are a developing nation and do not have the means to achieve the goal on our own. Finally, in order to bring criminals to justice, we must address the issue of land ownership. This is a big problem in the Amazon area. For you to know, about 2/3 of the Amazon area are public areas, and we have to deal with this problem so that we can have a good bill, a good law, and to put people in the different parts of the Amazon area, and so that we can bring those that are not doing things well to justice. It is a complicated matter, and the Council has a specific working group to discuss and present solutions to this topic. I want to make clear that Brazil is fully committed to solution this problem.
We move on to question number 3 from, sorry if I mispronounced, journalist Tjerk Brunwiller, correspondent for Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung in Latin America. In the first 3 months of the year, there was an increase in the deforestation in the Amazon compared with the same time last year. Were the measures taken last year in Operação Verde Brasil 1 not effective enough? In the authorities which are responsible for the protection of the environment and its inhabitants, there are ever more personnel with a military background. What do you see as the advantages of the militarization of those authorities in IBAMA, ICMBio, and FUNAI?
Well, Chuck, thank you for your question. It's very important to understand that Operation Verde Brasil, that was launched in the second semester of last year, had the specific task, the specific goal to fight against the forest fires. Because what happens in the Amazon? First semester, it's the rainy season, so no fires happen. It's the moment where the wrong guys, the criminals, try to deforest and to explore the log activity. And the second semester, it's the dry season, and when the forests start, the fires start. And last year, we reached our goal to stop the fire. What happened in the beginning of this year? Once again, the criminals start their activities and start to deforestation again. And after the first meeting of the Amazon Council, we decided that we had to launch another operation. This operation, in our planning, is to last until the end of this term of President Bolsonaro. That is, it's to last until the end of the year of 2022. We have to keep on with this operation. The use of military people is due to the fact that the inspection and fiscal agencies, they don't have enough manpower. And due to the fiscal crisis that we have here in Brazil, we don't have today enough resource to contract or to bring new people to work in these organizations. So what do we have to do? We have to make joint task force, employing military people, employing the federal police, employing our national force, that's similar to a national guard, military police of the states of the Amazon area, and of course the agents that have the responsibility to work in the field and to make the fiscalization of what is happened there. And so we are not militarizing these agencies, okay? People who work in IBAMA, ICMBio, FUNAI are still public functionaries that went to the government through an exam, and of course we have some cargos, some place that we have some military people, retired people that are working there. By the same, due to this problem that I presented to you, we can't bring people, we can't contract new people, so we have to use those who are retired, that they cost less to the nation, they are already retired. That's the point that I want to make sure to you. And once again, thank you for your question.
Now, question number 4, Michael Scott, editor for Latin America for the Financial Times. There is growing controversy in Brazil and overseas about a bill in Congress expected to be voted on the next week that would offer an amnesty to land grabbers and spur deforestation. Some prosecutors have also spoken out against it. Why, during this pandemic, when there are reports that illegal loggers and miners are spreading the virus in the Amazon, is the government backing such a bill? What does the Vice President think about this bill? How can Brazil demonstrate it is serious about environmental protection when it is promoting such a legislation?
Well, Bill 910 was the government response to a long-needed proposal of land ownership regulation in the Amazon area. Like I told you in one of the first questions that I answered, the problem of land ownership in the Amazon area, it's responsible for the great case of deforestation. Once we don't know who owns the land, we cannot bring nobody to justice when they are doing illegal activities. We sent this bill to Congress. Congress is the right place where society comes to discuss it. Okay? And the bill was being discussed in Congress. The government pointed some aspects, and of course, the civil society, through their representatives in Congress, were complaining about the standards that the government proposed, and the Congress is the real place so that we can reach a good agreement. As far as I know, this bill won't pass because it lasts until next Tuesday, and I think it's very difficult that on next Monday or Tuesday, Congress will approve it. So we have to come back again and to try to provide a new bill to solve this problem. Once again, I want to make sure to you that this kind of bill is which will allow law enforcement to act against such illegal loggers and miners who profit from the legal void that exists.
Our final question now from journalist Katie Watson, South American correspondent for BBC. You're sending the army, but at the same time have previously denied the severity of the problem, emboldened illegal loggers by talk of opening up the Amazon and taking away power from environmental and indigenous agencies. People in the Amazon feel forgotten, and it's even more desperate now with COVID-19. Many will see this just as a show of power.
Well, Katie, thank you for your question. Well, we mean business, Katie. I myself lived during 5 years in the Amazon area. My father was born there. He was born in a small town in the south of the state of Amazonas. My grandmother, it's an indigenous, it's an Indian, and she taught me a lot of things. So we are committed to protect, to preserve, and to develop the Amazon area. We are not just showing power. And I know the people who live inside, in the rivers, in the jungle, in the small village, in the small hamlets that are throughout the Amazon area. So you are only looking at the immediate action embodied in Operation Verde Brasil 2. When the government reinstated the National Amazon Council, we set an ambitious goal to integrate the Amazon region to the rest of the country and the world. As I said before, for many centuries, even after Brazil became an independent country, the Amazon was a huge untouched space of rivers and forests, inhabited by a small group of indigenous people and even a smaller group of settlers. To integrate today these 25 million Brazilians who live in the Amazon, we must provide an economic basis that can coexist side by side with the conservation of the natural richness of the environment.